Welcome back to another episode of Decentralized Chain. We are here yet for another exciting AMA. I am joined by the co-founder of Neptune Mutual. We're going to be talking about the need for insurance, especially in this DeFi space. Edward, welcome to the stream. Great to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Firoz. It's a pleasure to be here.
As always. Right. Well, let's kick off. For those who may not know about Neptune Mutual, what's the elevator pitch in brief?
So Neptune Mutual is a DeFi insurance protocol. Its design is, or rather it has been created in order to protect users from hacks, so to protect their digital assets against smart contract risk and custody risk for certain CeFi projects.
Okay.
So that's what it is. That's what it does.
So, clearly there is a need. There is a need for insurance in this space. I'm wondering what kind of led you to the idea of creating Neptune Mutual in the first place? I mean, what was the sort of reason behind it? Did you find yourself in a situation once where you happened to have, lost various sums of money in a DeFi protocol locked, or is it more based around what you were seeing within the sort of space that we're in?
Well, there's a number of things. Firstly, the need itself was very, very clear. Each year, there are a huge number of digital assets that are lost to hacks of one form or another. Last year, over $2 billion. And the originator of the idea and the founder and CEO of Neptune Mutual, Binod Navan, he is a blockchain security expert and was keen to try and do something to protect users in the blockchain space. And so I joined him in 2021 together with the third co-founder, Jillian Wu, and we all have this same understanding or appreciation that there was a problem and that the solution wasn't getting as much traction as it should have done in order to protect enough users. And that's perhaps for a variety of reasons. So what we set about to do was to design from the bottom up a protocol that was scalable and reliable.
Okay. What are some of the features that kind of benefit the users when we're talking about Neptune Mutual?
So the first thing is that sets us apart from others is that we're a marketplace. That's to say, cover projects come to our marketplace and they create their own cover pools to market to their own communities, both for their communities to purchase cover on the one hand and supply liquidity to their pools on the other hand. And the other important thing is that the marketplace offers parametric cover. And the reason that is important is because it's a very scalable way of dealing with problems that can affect all at the same time thousands or even hundreds of thousands of users. And one of the difficulties in scaling traditional insurance, where typically you have an asset, you may lose or have a loss associated with that asset, and then you have to submit an individual claim. Where you have thousands, or as I said, even 100,000 or more users who have a loss all at the same time, that process creates a huge amount of administration, which is constraints to resolving those situations quickly. And that's really what cover projects need if they suffer some kind of incident and their brand suffers a drop in confidence. It's very important to be able to turn that around quickly and to make users whole again, resolve the situation. And by using parametric cover, we only have to, or the community only has to resolve the incident. And if the incident is resolved, that's to say the community agrees that it has happened and it has happened in conformance to the parameters of the policy, everybody gets a payout. Everyone who has a cover everyone who has a cover policy gets a payout. And if it hasn't happened, nobody gets a payout. So it's very simple. It happens very quickly. So over an 8-day period, and after that window of 8 days where an incident is evaluated, then users of our marketplace can expect a payout if the incident is validated by the community.
Pretty impressive and innovative way of doing it. Actually, you kind of sort of touched on how it kind of works as a decentralized protocol. I'm curious in terms of how do users actually access Neptune Mutual? I mean, what are the requirements that you need to go through in order to sort of join or take out cover?
So the first thing is that we are now multi-chain. We launched on BNB on Friday of last week. We also are on Ethereum and Arbitrum. And so to access all the application on the different chains, the easiest thing to go is to navigate to our website, neptunemutual.com, scroll to the bottom and click on the Marketplace tab, and then you'll see where you can access the applications depending on which chain you want to get cover on. So that's the first thing. That will take you to the right place, so the cover marketplace. And then you're free to look through the different cover pools and the different cover products that are available to see what's relevant to you. And you can put in the amount of cover that you want to purchase for a duration of 1, 2, or 3 months. And then if you want to complete a transaction, you can do so, obviously, by connecting your wallet. And you will also need to purchase some NPM tokens, that's the Neptune Mutual project native token, to access and validate cover policy purchases, as well as providing liquidity and for doing other important actions within the marketplace. So the NPM token is a utility token that provides this access to all the key features of the marketplace.
So users basically, they launch an app, choose an insurance pool, and enter the coverage amount. Sounds pretty straightforward and easy, which is I think that's what we need anyway in general in this space. Certainly, I've been here for a fair few years, and I think one of the things that I would certainly argue against is that there are lots of DeFi protocols out there. There are lots of dApps out there as well. User experience is one thing that's severely lacking within our space, and I think it does make it quite difficult for those who are sort of onboarding into crypto, certainly to kind of get their head around it. For those, I think, who are a bit more tech savvy, they can quite easily pick it up. But, UI, UX, I think it's something that, is very much needed in this space.
Absolutely, it is. And whilst everybody knows how important it is, it's actually one of those things which is difficult to get right. Keeping it simple is obviously a starting point. And we were fortunate enough when we launched on our testnet. We launched on a couple of testnets last year, in fact, and we had 25,000 members of our community log onto the testnet application and give us feedback around the UI, precisely because, as you rightly say, it's extremely important. And most particularly, I would say, for something like cover policies, where it's important for people to find what they want quickly and to understand what is covered and what's not. Because quite frankly, there's nothing worse than, doing, interacting with the DeFi space and then losing your assets because of some kind of hack, and then having paid for a cover policy to find out that for, some obscure reason, what you thought was covered isn't covered because of, because of a misunderstanding, is getting hit twice. So parametric cover is one of those things where in the cover policy terms and conditions, there are really 3 or 4 or maybe 5 parameters at most which determine what is covered and what is not. It has to be simple because that's a fundamental part of parametric cover. Which originated in the traditional insurance sector, I would say, typically in environmental disasters like earthquake type insurance. And what's important is to have very simple parameters which make it very clear cut as to whether a user qualifies for a payout or not.
Interesting. I mean, what are some of the challenges or risks that you face so far with your protocol? I mean, there must be something whereby there's been a hindrance or a stumbling block, or how do you overcome them?
Well, definitely, absolutely. There are two obvious things. Firstly, as a startup protocol, we compete for visibility, and we compete for people's attention, and that's quite difficult for us. It's quite a difficult challenge for us to overcome, because whilst many DeFi protocols appeal to the sort of risk-taking approach and attitude of many early adopters, so like high leverage and some of the options trading platforms, they're kind of exciting and they offer the opportunities to make times 10 returns. Which is great, and the space is growing because of those protocols. But our narrative is one of being careful and being risk averse, and so it's not necessarily they're not necessarily communication messages which are easy to get across in a simple and exciting way, in comparison to something, for example, like a Web3 gaming platform. But nonetheless, we do feel it's important. It is important for people who are taking risks to be careful, because it's just such a shame for people to have great trading strategies, get lots of returns, and then lose the whole lot for no fault of their own. And that's really what Neptune Mutual is here for, is to protect people against those sorts of risks. And we're doing our best to try and get our message across in interesting and engaging ways. So,
interesting you mentioned protection. I mean, being a decentralized protocol yourself, I'm curious how you sort of tackle things like reliability, scalability, and sort of safety for your users as well, because they are ultimately depositing funds as well, right, in order to get around the cover piece.
So, the first part of your question was, we do have to pay very careful attention, as all protocols do, to security. So there are no funds taken into custody by our protocol. So it's all DeFi. The funds are held in smart contracts. So we have no custody of any of the funds within the marketplace. So that's important to understand. And in terms of security, we're fortunate to have a CEO who has a blockchain security background, and that has embedded across our company a security culture. So whilst we are both strong on the tech side, I think it's important to understand that security risks can have all sorts of vectors, and not only smart contract, which is what the marketplace covers, but front end, there are social engineering attacks, all sorts of different things. And we have to be particularly careful. So over and above the audits, which are fairly standard now, so we've had an audit of the smart contract code from OpenZeppelin, from BlockSec. That's fairly standard now, but over and above that, we are particularly careful about security to protect ourselves and our community.
Well, that's certainly reassuring to hear. One of the things that I'm always eager on is obviously, the measure of success. What are some of the milestones that you've achieved so far, and sort of how have you measured that?
So there are lots of different ways of measuring our success. Firstly, if I can start out at the beginning of our journey, we incorporated in 2021. We have a fairly stellar lineup of investors. So our seed round was led by Fenbushi Capital. We had a strategic round led by Animoca Brands, and we have Coinbase Ventures and OKX as investors. And they have been incredibly supportive of us all through last year. When we launched on the Ethereum chain in November, where it was tricky times for everyone, they were incredibly helpful and supportive to us. In January, we launched on Arbitrum, layer 2, and we quickly became the largest DeFi insurance protocol on Arbitrum. On Friday last week, as I mentioned, we've launched on BNB to expand the audience and reach of our cover marketplace. We have a lot of things lined up to communicate in terms of growth. So in terms of answering your question about how do we measure success, so on the one hand, there is the number of users, and I think I'm right in saying we are the DeFi insurance cover protocol with the largest number of users.
Wow.
We definitely have on our website, if you scroll to the bottom, you can track the activity in our cover marketplace with our Explorer. And getting and attracting TVL obviously is a fundamental like driver for all DeFi protocols, and we're no different. And we are aligning a whole lot of incentives and reward programs to attract liquidity into our marketplace, because that is really the only way of increasing capacity.
Yeah.
So we're launching a couple of initiatives which we've really only just started marketing. So since the beginning of last year, we've been building and deploying, and the phase now of marketing has really kicked off, actually really from last week, with an article in Cointelegraph about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think users can expect to see us more in the headlines. So I'll be at EthCC in Paris. We've got a whole lot of YouTube discussions and so on coming up. So a lot of activity to launch our NFT portal, which again is a loyalty rewards program. And we have a really exciting project which will allow users to influence the NPM emissions that go to liquidity providers. And it'll also allow them to boost the NPM emissions they get for being a liquidity provider. So two very exciting things to look forward to. The NFT portal in particular is going to be released in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow! Congratulations on the number of achievements that you've got so far, and many things to come, which has kind of already tackled my next question, which is around future plans. Which clearly you have a lot of you have a lot in the pipeline. I'm curious if we kind of cast our net even further out. Where do you kind of see things in the next few years?
Well, we'd certainly like to, as I said, increase the audience to which cover is available. And one way of doing that is by launching on new chains. So we're speaking to a number of new L2s because there's quite a number of them launching at the moment, and we're keen to be there as far as possible at launch. And so that's one of the things that we're doing. We're also exploring new and interesting ways of engaging the community and growing liquidity. So, for example, after we've launched the liquidity gauge and vote escrow NPM token that I was talking about before, we also have a bond pool mechanism, so a DeFi 2 mechanism that people may be familiar with. I think it started off by Olympus DAO. And so we'll be launching a bond pool later in the year, again, in order to, as a mechanism to reward a greater depth of liquidity in the dexes that we are on, and where NPM tokens can be accessed by the community. So currently we're on both Ethereum and Arbitrum. So on Arbitrum we're on Sushi, and on Ethereum we're on Uniswap version 2. That's where the NPM token is available on those two dexes, and we'll have, as I said, a bond pool mechanism that will reward growth in the depth of those liquidity pools later on this year.
Exciting. Well, one thing I'm sure our viewers are interested in is how can they get involved in supporting Neptune Mutual? I mean, do you have any ongoing or upcoming events or promotions that you want to share with them?
So yes, we do. We in fact recently, to celebrate the launch on BNB chain and the Cointelegraph article, to get our sort of name out there into the space, and we have a promotion code which I can share with you, and perhaps you can link to in the description below, which is CT020623. And that promotional code will allow those who purchase cover for the first time in our marketplace to get a cash back on the protocol fees associated with the purchase of their first cover. So that's a sort of promotional activity for your listeners and viewers. And as I said, we're going to be progressively, I think, having more cover projects launch their cover pools in our marketplace, and we expect them to bootstrap those cover pools. That's to say, get their communities rewarded to provide liquidity into their cover pools by providing project native tokens. So hopefully there'll be some announcements following EthCC, where I'm meeting up with a number of different cover projects who are pretty excited about creating their own cover pools in our marketplace.
Wow, lots going on in the space today then. So before we wrap up, and again, I would love to thank you today for all the info that you've shared. It's been insightful. In all honesty, I didn't know much about insurance protocols in DeFi. It's not something that I've looked into in the past, actually, but now, given where the market's going, and you're right, the number of sort of hacks and breaks that we do see in the system, it is more pertinent for those dabbling in DeFi in order to protect yourselves, just like you would in real life when it comes to insurance. You have car insurance for a reason there, and again, having insurance within crypto is something just as important, seeming as that is the way the world is heading. Before we wrap up, Ryan, any final words for our viewers? And you can say smash up the like if you want to.
Yeah, I'll smash up the likes for sure, both on this channel and in ours. So as I said, we have and are making great efforts to communicate. We have lots to explain in terms of parametric cover and in terms of the reward programs, whether that's the NFT reward program, the loyalty program, or the Vote Escrow NPM that will be coming out hopefully in a couple of months or so. And so what I'd suggest is subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Twitter, and we obviously will be able to share more information in those channels. If you've got specific questions, then I would recommend joining our Discord, and then you can reach out to a moderator who are very responsive. So yeah, follow us. We're very excited about the growth opportunities for the DeFi insurance sector overall as a group of projects, and obviously particularly for our own project, we've really tried hard to make it scalable and to align the rewards for liquidity providers in order to encourage them to join and to increase the capacity, which is so desperately needed to make the blockchain space, just more reliable and better protected. So.
Excellent. Well, look, Ryan, thank you very much for coming on the show. Great to have you here. Thank you to the audience for tuning in for this AMA session. I genuinely do hope you have taken something away from here. Co-founder, Edward Ryall of Neptune Mutual, the decentralized insurance protocol. Make sure you check it out. So neptunemutual.com and @ Neptune Mutual on Twitter as well. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.